from Connecticut, Mr. Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers, and thank you to all the witnesses this morning. General Guillot, at Northcom posture hearings in recent years, you and your predecessors have described the increasing frequency of Russian submarine patrols that have transited the Atlantic in the vicinity of the homeland. You alluded to the undersea a number of times in your testimony. It's in your written testimony as well. Can you tell us, as best you can in an unclassified setting, if that trend is continuing?
Congressman, the trend of approaching our coasts from both Russia and Chinese submarines is increasing, and we need a expanded undersea detection capability to ensure that we're aware of these and can properly posture to defend against submarine-launched cruise missiles or ballistic missiles.
And when you say that undersea detection, you're talking about sensors, right? And I mean, there's obviously other levels of...
Yes, sir, I'm talking about sensors.
Right. Anti-submarine warfare, to follow up Mr. Smith's question, is a team sport with our allies. It starts in Europe in terms of Russian patrols, where, again, UK, France participate with the U.S., and then as it proceeds further west, Canada is also part of that team sport. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, that's correct. And if you use the last out-of-sea deployment in July as an example, the nations that you mentioned had first detection. We picked up on those, and using both Canadian ships and maritime patrol aircraft, tracked those, the submarine and the surface vessels all the way until we handed it to Admiral Halsey's command, and they went into Havana.
Thank you. And again, we're talking about a fleet that, despite the war in Ukraine, Putin continues to invest. In fact, yesterday, he was at a shipyard announcing, again, another generation of submarine capability for the hydrosonic missile payload, which, again, I don't know if you've been following that, but I mean, again, this threat is not sort of stalled out because of Ukraine.
That's right, sir. So the maritime threat and most parts of the air threat have actually grown over the last several years, despite the activities in Ukraine. So
again, the focus in terms of just what are the most effective ways to counter that clearly requires a multinational effort. And I mean, the good news is that we've had good participation in recent years. And I just want to associate myself with Mr. Smith's remarks that this trade war that has started is just a complete needless impediment in terms of, having maximum levels of participation. I mean, seeing yesterday the pictures of South Korea, Japan, and China announcing jointly an anti-U.S. tariff initiative with the leadership of the three governments shaking hands, honestly was sickening. And again, we've really got to do more as a Congress, as a co-equal branch of government, to try and rein in what I think is just a really negative dynamic that's being put into place. And we're all going to find out tomorrow the extent of the next level of these tariffs, but it's impossible for, I think, anyone to argue reasonably that it's not impacting the ability of us to interact with our allies when their governments are being put under such strain and pressure with these policies that are again, seem to be cascading out every single day. So, and again, just Admiral, the General referred to the fact that the Russian naval presence does make its way into your area of command. Maybe you could just sort of allude to that in my final minute.
Yes, Congressman. Since 2008, we've had over 40 Russian air deployers into the region. So again, working with Northcom, we make sure we do some type of relay to make sure we can keep pace on those. I would say that we have to continue to have presence, and again, presence is power. We have to meet presence with presence. If we don't do that, then we're going to see the space, right? So we have to make sure we stay in their face and have assets ready to engage.
No, and Southcom usually has been the poor cousin in terms of Navy sort of allocation of ships. And so, I mean, I think your point, I think, is really an important one for us to hear. And with that, I yield back.